This is not an insurrection. This does not require military troops in an American city.
Right now in KHW, Portland and the state of Oregon are both suing the Trump administration for authorizing the deployment of the National Guard to the city. Coming up, latest on their deployment and the new lawsuit. Plus, Oregon said it takes another crack at funding the state's transportation system. The latest from the state capitol as senators continue to debate. Then, evacuations are underway in southern Oregon as the Moon Complex fire spreads to more than 17,000 acres. The fight to protect homes and how the weather could help firefighters. And later, it's Blazers Media Day at the Moda Center. The new faces, familiar stars, and just plenty of buzz just weeks before the tip-off. What Coach Billups and Damian Lillard are saying about the new season ahead on the news at noon. Our top story this afternoon, Portland and the state of Oregon are suing the Trump administration for authorizing the deployment of 200 National Guard members to the Rose City. State leaders hope the lawsuit will block the deployment. This was a scene in downtown Portland yesterday where Governor Tina Kotek led a protest against President Trump's decision. Thank you for joining us here. I'm China Green. So protests also took place at the ICE facility last night. Thomas Schultz joins me here in the studio. So Thomas, what else do we know about these protests?
Yeah, well, China, we know that 2 people were arrested last night by Portland police for fighting. Outside of that, though, most of the protests have been uneventful. At one point, Portland police moved people back away from the building. KHW crews were out there throughout the evening and saw crowds actually shrink as the night went on. This comes after the Trump administration called 200 Oregon National Guard members into service after President Trump said on Saturday troops were needed to protect ICE facilities in, quote, war-ravaged Portland. That sparked large protests in downtown Portland along the waterfront, where Governor Tina Kotek marched with protesters.
When people cross the line, there's unlawful activity. People are being held accountable. This is not an insurrection. This does not require military troops in an American city.
Next, sir, we have an executive order.
On Sunday, President Trump told NBC he had a phone call with Kotek that showed him a different perspective, saying, "I spoke to the governor. She was very nice, but I said, well, wait a minute. Am I watching things on television that are different from what's happening? My people tell me different. They are literally attacking and there are fires all over the place." Since June, more than 24 people have been arrested in connection with protests outside the ICE facility along the south waterfront. Many arrests happened in the first month of those protests, resulting in misdemeanor charges. 3 people charged with failure to obey a lawful order pleaded guilty and received 6 months of probation and fines. Other cases are still ongoing. Some people facing charges for assaulting a federal officer are set for jury trials now. Though again, many of these arrests occurred months ago. Jenna?
Thomas, thank you. And Portland Police Chief Bob Day also addressed reports of an increased federal presence already in the city. On Friday, we watched federal officers with shield escorting a vehicle out of the ICE facility on South Macadam. We also saw about 50 SUVs leaving a Customs and Border Protection facility in Northeast Portland.
They're not required to share their operational plans with us, but we do know that there has been an increased number of federal police officers deployed here in Portland, and I believe the reference to the armored vehicles is some of their equipment, which is not uncommon for them to have, an armored car or something like that.
And some of Portland's business leaders are also rejecting President Donald Trump's plans, calling for unity in an open letter from the Portland Metro Chamber. So it said in part, quote, "We firmly oppose any deployment of federal troops to our city and reject the negative characterization of our citizens. Recent statements by the president suggesting Portland needs federal military intervention are inaccurate and counterproductive to Portland's recovery and success in improving public safety." The letter cited that homicides and gun violence is down in Portland this year, but also claimed that federal troop deployments in Washington, D.C. hurt local businesses there. But the full letter is available to read on the Portland Metro Chamber's website. Meanwhile, President Trump has also suggested that World Cup matches in Seattle next summer could be moved if he doesn't seem that the city is safe enough.
Could those games move if they don't cooperate with your crime push?
Well, that's an interesting, I guess, but we're going to make sure they're safe. They're run by radical left lunatics and that don't know what they're doing.
So as that press conference continued last week, the president went on to say that he hopes that he doesn't have to move World Cup host cities. It's also not clear if he has the authority to make that decision. But our sister station in Seattle spoke to the owner of a local sports bar about all this.
Businesses are already uncertain. We're having a tough time as we are right now. it feels like it's just somebody throwing just more wood on the fire of uncertainty and how do you get through to next World Cup, much less get through the World Cup.
In a statement, Seattle's mayor responded to the president's comments, saying violent crime in Seattle is down 20%, and the city has also hired nearly 130 new police officers this year. Stay with KGW for continuing coverage on the deployment of the National Guard in Portland and as the lawsuit against the Trump administration plays out. You can find the latest on air on KGW.com and on our free TV streaming app, KGW+. All right, let's head over to Rod Hill for a look at weather. A lot of green behind you, sir.
You left out, and you can find the latest on the rain on all those platforms.
That too.
Okay. Nothing stormy today, nothing to worry about, but drip, 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 drip. Continues to be mainly light rain, and so far everything is playing out on the time schedule that we had on sunrise this morning. You see the coast is starting to dry out. The rain band is marching inland. It's light over Portland. We've picked up 1/100ths of an inch of rain. It's basically been raining since shortly before 8 o'clock this morning, so that's evidence of a light rain rate. The one spot that's really been hammered with heavy rain is Astoria, 77/100ths, and if you drop down to Newport, 4/10 of an inch of rain, but the coast is now starting to see the rain diminish. Here's a closer look at just the radar. There's some light showers lingering along the coast, but clearly the bulk of the steady rain is marching inland and pretty much centered right over Portland. The light green coloring, though, it's all light green for the most part, right? That's just light rain. So as we said earlier, this is a drippy day, yes, with periods of steady rain, yes, but it's just not bad to be out walking around because the rain rates have been so light. With that said, you can see some droplets on the camera lens down from our Salem Sky camera, 60 degrees there. There are the wet bricks in downtown Portland, 61, with the clouds and areas of light rain continuing through about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Temperatures won't do much. Maybe we get up into the mid-60s. I think if you have plans this evening, eventually we get drier and drier, and I have a nice rain break overnight tonight and tomorrow morning. Your complete forecast, another round of rain coming in, that's ahead.
Thank you, Rod. Right now, the Oregon Senate is meeting for a special interim legislative session to vote on a transportation funding bill. That vote has been delayed several times because Democratic Senator Chris Gorsuch from Gresham has been recovering from back surgery, and the Democrats needed his vote. So earlier this morning, senators passed a companion bill which paves the way to approve the transportation bill. After the vote this morning, Republicans walked off the Senate floor to hold a press conference. Despite the walkout, the Senate is expected to vote on the actual transportation bill sometime later today. The KGW's Evan Watson is at the Capitol right now, following the latest developments about today's vote. He will bring us the update this evening, starting on KGW News at 4. Multnomah County leaders say severe budget cuts are on the horizon as they start rebalancing the county's budget. They blame state and federal cuts to health care, housing, services, and shelters. Because of that, the county will see a drop in the number of available shelter beds, and people could lose access to rent assistance. But there will be public work sessions to consider these adjustments starting early next month. Authorities are investigating after a body was found floating in the Tualatin River over the weekend. Paddleboarders reported seeing the body on Sunday near Browns Ferry Park outside of Tualatin. The medical examiner will determine the person's identity and cause of death. And a man is facing a second-degree murder charge after a deadly stabbing at Northeast Portland's Dawson Park. It happened early Sunday afternoon. Before officers arrived, neighbors took the victim to the hospital where he later died. Police arrested the suspect, 50-year-old Jermaine McKenzie. 2 Portland police officers are recovering after getting into a fight with a suspect that ended with a suspect in a neck hold. So police were called to Northeast 33rd near I-84 around 9 o'clock Saturday morning after getting reports about a man swinging a metal pole at passing cars. Now, when officers found the man at Oregon Park, things got physical. At one point, police say the suspect tried to pull an officer's gun out of his holster. That's when one of the officers used a neck hold to get the suspect under control. He was taken to the hospital as a precaution. The officers also went to the hospital, one with a head injury, the other with a hand injury. No shots were fired, but this incident is being treated as a deadly use of force investigation. Portland police policy says anytime an officer uses physical force that puts pressure on someone's neck, even if the person doesn't lose consciousness, it's considered deadly use of force. And even though the suspect is recovering, homicide detectives are investigating. The officer who used the neck hold is on paid administrative leave, which is standard procedure. Nearly 60 firefighters were needed to put out a fire at an assisted living facility in Northeast Portland. The fire broke out Sunday afternoon at Furwood Gardens in the Hazelwood neighborhood. The residents there require 24-hour care, and many have mobility issues. Firefighters quickly called in extra resources to fight the fire and evacuate the residents.
It's a significant concern to safely search and evacuate everybody. So a second alarm was called right away just because of the number of people we were going to have to deal with. We were able to evacuate everybody out of the structure safely.
One person is facing life-threatening injuries. The cause of the fire is under investigation.